Thank you, everyone. Well, it's so wonderful to see so many different faces here from so many different places. We really appreciate all of you taking an hour out of your day to speak with us today. My name is Hadley Wellman, and I am the director of the University Climate Ambassador Program at the Global Climate Pledge and U.S. Green Chamber of Commerce. Now, we have a good hour in front of us, and so we wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of what you can expect. And you can see all this here on the left, and throughout the session, you will hear from myself, you will hear from our CEO and founder, Michelle Thatcher, our close program advisor, Dr. Glenn Hollum, and 3 of our key ambassadors. And we will finish everything off with some next steps for how you can get involved and what we can do together to accelerate change for a greener planet. And we will have a Q&A, so you're able to stick around and ask any questions then, and I will be able to stay after the hour if you need that as well. And so to get started, we wanted to give you an overview on how we came to be and what it means to be connected to the U.S. Green Chamber of Commerce and Global Climate Pledge. And so for that, I will turn it to Michelle.
Thank you so much. So my name is Michelle Thatcher. I'm the CEO and co-founder of the U.S. Green Chamber of Commerce. And so most of you are younger, so you may not know what a Chamber of Commerce is, but generally they're in every single city in the United States, and they're pretty much in every single country around the world. Chambers of Commerce, we help chambers in general and businesses become more sustainable through education, networking, advocacy, and promotional events. That's what chambers as a whole usually do. And next slide. And through the U.S. Green Chamber, we started what's called the Global Climate Pledge. In the middle of the pandemic, we realized we really wanted to do something a little bit different. We wanted to be able to reach out on an international level because we couldn't do it in person anymore. So we started what's called the Global Climate Pledge, and our goal is to engage 2 billion people starting to take climate action. Within this, we started with a variety of different project areas, and the university being one of those, which led us into the University Climate Ambassador team. But it's just such a pleasure to have all of you here today. We really represent the business community and the NGO community out there that is really helping to guide and bring in expertise in a unique way.
Yes, and we want to use all of that experience and connection for good, and we want to see how we can get 2 billion people involved in climate action, because we believe in order to make the most impact, we need every single person to get their hands on deck. Whether you start small, end up big, whether you're already in a position like each of you are on campus or in faculty and staff, you're very well versed in how to stay connected and be able to make change. And we want to address people from every background, not just those who are already environmentally focused. We want people from every corner of the world. We have a wonderful global team that focuses on making this pledge truly global. And we want people from every walk of life, like we said. And one of the most important groups that we can engage in pushing for climate action is, of course, students. I won't ask why students as a broad question, because I'm sure those of you who are here today know why students are so important, whether you are one or a faculty and staff member. There are over 177 million students in the world, and if we were to bring even 1% of those into a productive cause, a collaborative cause, we could change the world, and we will. This young adult generation, more than ever before, is aware of the climate crisis. They're passionate about fixing it, but a lot of them are scared and unsure about what to do in terms of being able to see the impact they are trying to make. There is a big focus on what you can do as an individual, which is how we try to engage people initially with the pledge. But our goal always is to get people involved in something bigger than themselves so that we can connect with others. And as opposed to saving one plastic bottle by using a reusable bottle every single day, you can impact the stopping of use of 7,000 plastic bottles on a campus per day with a single-use plastic ban. And so all of this ties in with our mission, and you can see some of our ambassador faces here today. Some of you are here already, which is wonderful. Our mission really is to accelerate that impact for a green future, and we want students to be ready to go into the workforce, able to think critically on how to sustainably better the world around them. And campuses are the first place to start, because you're surrounded by like-minded people, you're on campus with the goal of bettering the world around you with whatever you do in your career, whether that's through art is impactful, whether you're going into policy, business, economics, and it's just a wonderful community of like-minded people. Additionally, on campus, students are uniquely situated to be able to make change as the campuses are built for them. They are taking classes, they're meant to be bettered, there's meant to be support from staff and faculty, and students also have a very unique perspective to bring to the change-making process because faculty, staff, they know so much, you have all the expertise, but you don't always see everything that's going in on every single corner of campus. Because even though something might be good in theory, there might be a wonderful strategy put in place, it can always come down to one individual who, making sure that everyone's connected and everyone's on the same page and everything is being completed in a systematic manner. For example, students stay in the dorms, faculty and staff don't. They don't always know everything that's going on. And so it's important to get their perspective when there is so much waste associated with students being in the dorm halls. There's so much campus culture that can be developed right there, and there's so much knowledge there. And with this, we really truly do seek to connect the generation of passion with the generation of power, though I believe each of you who fall into the latter are very passionate as well. And we want to connect those who have the influence and have the expertise with those who have the numbers, the voices, the passion, and work together to make change. It's about all of us coming together for this planet. And within doing this, all types of stakeholders are welcome. And we want to do this both within a given campus and between campuses, because to avoid reinventing the wheel, we really can make change happen more quickly. For example, I always say if a school like Berkeley is already reached net zero as an example, but a school, Boston University, might not be able to achieve that for another 10 years, why don't we have a conversation and share strategies and avoid competition as something that does reign rampant in our society, and come together and focus on celebrating those who have already made impactful change and sharing those strategies with those campuses that are in need. Now, there are a lot of student groups out there, and there are a lot of students in here, again, you can see, and we wanted to talk about what makes us unique and what makes us different. And so, Michelle, you can also touch on this, but again, that focus on within and between universities. We want everyone on board, everyone sharing. No person is left behind, whether you're an expert or not, and we completely recognize that some people are specialized in a specific initiative, and we want to turn to them for that initiative. Again, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to connect everyone with every experience and learn lessons together. We also really help to have students develop a baseline understanding of what sustainability looks like in the world, but particularly in higher education, because it is important with our students that, again, we are inspiring leaders, developing leaders, and in order to lead, you have to have some sort of basis to understand what you're asking for and what you're pushing for. And so we help develop a baseline of sustainability in higher education on campus and look to specific projects, staff, leaders, and try to connect it all together. And even if we do not have all the answers, we encourage our students to ask questions, be analytical, identify information gaps, and hold universities accountable. We also have wonderful educational and leadership training going on with global experts. I touch on this in the next slide, but we do have a monthly webinar series where, in order to serve the students who are serving the planet, we want to give one extra boost to reward them for all the amazing work that they're doing. And we really do take advantage of our connections to businesses, solutions, NGOs, governments, groups from all around the world based on US Green Chamber and others. You can see that we had a speaker from the World Resources Institute. We have many connections to Rotary International, Engineers for Sustainable World, the Department of Energy, the EPA. There are so many connections, and we want our students to learn through these opportunities. Oops. And again, the focus is that everyone is welcome. Everything can be done if we all come together, and together we are stronger. And so just to hone it in one more time, we are trying to develop the leaders of tomorrow by connecting them with the leaders of today. So everyone here has such an important role to play, and that's why we're so thankful to have you here. And again, there's also another speaker we had from the Niles Foundation, which is a wonderful Los Angeles-based nonprofit focusing on environmental justice and equity and community development and youth leadership and grassroots solar. And that World Resources Institute presentation I talked about discussed the IPCC report, which is so difficult to navigate as a young person. There's so much information and it's hard to understand its significance and what's really going to happen as a result of it. We look forward to having a series, a session very soon with 2 young people in Finland who are running for parliament, and they will be speaking on youth leadership. And additionally, we are hoping to develop a certification series to give an extra boost to everyone's resumes, and it is in the works right now. Now, I wanted to touch on the numbers, what we've already been able to achieve and what we hope to achieve, because having that bigger picture in mind is always necessary. And like we said earlier, we want to get 2 billion people involved in climate action. And though we realize that is a scary goal, a big goal, we believe it is much better to set a big goal and fail up and push ourselves that much harder than it is to set small goals. But we have to be a little bit realistic. And so as you can see, we have 60 ambassadors, 34 campuses, 18 states, and we hope to grow this as soon as possible to all states, at least 100 campuses, and at least 1,000 ambassadors, because it is so important that students feel supported, not just within this program that connects students from all around the country, but within a given campus, so that they feel part of something bigger than themselves, while it's also familiar. And we, of course, want to expand globally as well. Now, in terms of educating our students on what they are asking for to make the most informed requests and ask the most appropriate questions, we believe there are 3 primary types of change to pursue on college campuses. The first one is transparency, because if students and the public and faculty and staff are not able to understand what a school is doing well, what a school is doing badly at, and what progress is or isn't being made, then we cannot hold them accountable. From there, it is important to commit to doing better and making sure that these goals we are setting are measurable, achievable, and feasible, and that we are making regular check-ins to see if those commitments are being fulfilled. Because similar to the goal of net zero, if one school has a strategy, let's share it between campuses. We also need to make sure that we're not setting unrealistic goals, because they're much more achievable than we think. What good is a commitment to reach net zero emissions by 2040 if no action is taken until 2035? We also try to look at the fact that some campuses have reached net zero and see what we can do to make sure that actions are fulfilling certain commitments. From here, I will turn it over to our program advisor, Dr. Glenn Hallam, to talk about the model he developed.
Thanks, Hadley. So my name is Glenn Hallam, and I have been involved in helping leaders in sustainability become effective of all types. And I'm in particular interested in young people and the potential energy that they represent. You know, we need to figure out what we can do at scale to tap into potential energy like that and convert it into forward motion and progress for the planet. That's really why I got involved with this. We want to try to inspire young people to be fairly ambitious about what they're trying to do. And we have a little model that we teach as part of this program that we call BAM. It stands for Boldly Align and Mobilize. The idea is for young people to be thinking about the big things that need to happen around them to help with the planet, and then be thinking about who are the stakeholders around them. What is the landscape of other people involved in this, other clubs, sustainability directors, staff members on campus. You know, we want to teach young people to have systemic awareness around them as leaders. So to be aligning other people around a vision, and then be engaging people at scale to mobilize people to bring them into the movement. And we feel that this is a good strategy. Yeah, you might want to mute there a second. Anyway, we spent a good deal of time in this program helping young people to think about what role they can play to be mobilizing people on their campus, make good things happen, and to be supporting the other initiatives on campus and sustainability. So that's our BAM model: Boldly Align and Mobilize. We're also trying to engage young people in thinking through a process that they can go through in terms of driving meaningful change on campus. And go ahead and step through this a little bit. Now, one is to really think about the power structure around them and the context for what they're doing. We get them to ask questions about who already is involved, you know, what initiatives are already going on, what are the motivations of the various people who are involved, faculty, staff, students, you know, et cetera, on campus, to really understand where the potential is for driving change. And then to go through a process of bringing together other people working on this and learning what their needs are and what their visions are, assessing what the big needs are. For example, at a university, you know, where is there an opportunity to drive meaningful change? We engage them in thinking about the STARS ratings through ASHE in terms of evaluation of that university and where the potential is for improvement. We encourage young people to actually lead with a vision. It's something that I've often taught in executive development. You know, you don't want to just manage people. You want to develop a compelling vision. It's compelling because it's exciting and it's doable. But to be working with your other stakeholders to create visions that people find motivating and inspiring. And then we try to get our young people to be thinking about who they can be meeting with on the campus, people in positions of authority who are in a position to make policy decisions or make needed investments for the planet. So we encourage our young people to be thinking about how they can become really savvy influencers. You know, they're not necessarily protesters per se. They're young people who are finding ways to engage leaders who are in a position to make a difference for the planet. And how do you go about doing that? That's what our program is about. And we're also encouraging people to publicize what they're doing, and more than anything, you know, to persist. I think that we will have an impact by not giving up, and we try to teach our climate ambassadors to have a long vision of what they need to do, and understand that everything you do is oftentimes more difficult than what you imagine, but you have to be prepared to overcome barriers and persist, and that's how we're going to have an influence.
Thank you, Glenn. Perfect. And we want to talk next about how we really organize our students. And so our goal, of course, is to have students within a given campus and across campuses. We have 34 campuses. And in order to make the most change, we believe that it's important to hone in on what it is each student cares most about. And it's probably similar to faculty and staff. You have to care about something to make it happen. And so we have found that the three most connected areas of impact that each of our students care about are curriculum, campus administration, and dining and waste. And these are very specific and very broad at the same time. And so we wanted to touch a little bit on what our students do within committees and what initiatives we are really pushing for and some of the progress we are already making. And so first I will turn it over to Aria to talk about the curriculum committee.
Hello everyone, my name is Aria Everingham and I am a rising senior at UC Santa Barbara. And I work with the University Climate Ambassador Program to unite and ignite ambassadors, especially relating to sustainable curriculum. So there are so many different ways the universities can develop a more environmentally minded curriculum and accompanying campus learning culture to ensure that students emerge from college with the knowledge that they need to impact change in their respective fields. So there's a couple of different options that we've been looking into. Firstly, there's options for universities to develop an environmental course requirement for all students in the general education catalog. This would be similar to the US cultural pluralism requirement, where classes throughout the general education catalog can count twice. General education is meant to ensure that all students emerge from their education with the skills and tools needed to function in society, and especially in the face of the climate crisis, this is so important that they have environmental knowledge. And one school that has pioneered such a requirement is Dickinson College in Pennsylvania, who by the end of their first semester, 88% of students were taking 2 or more courses that fulfilled the sustainability requirement, and 54% took 4 or more. So this demonstrates effective sustainable learning outcomes that are applicable to a wide range of classes, making it easy for all students to walk away with basics needed to understand the environment and climate around them. And also shows how knowledge on sustainability can become even more part of a well-rounded education, no matter their major. Even on a small scale, schools could implement this by making sure that there's an environmental class in every general ed requirement, whether that be English, science, anything, that they can take classes that relate to the environment.
Yes, and I wanted to highlight one of our ambassadors who unfortunately could not be here today because she's doing an amazing internship in South Africa right now. Her name is Kristen Berry from UCLA. She has been one of the ambassadors who has been with us the longest, and she's been through a lot of trial and tribulation, and she has experienced the need for persistence, as we've mentioned several times. And her big goal was to get a climate course requirement put in place at UCLA, and she took it and ran with it and didn't take no for an answer. She tried for months to make contact with the chief sustainability officer and was continually told no, until she took the initiative herself to devise more options for implementation, because if an exact course requirement could not be created, what can that overlap look like, similar to the cultural pluralism requirement? How can you double count et cetera, et cetera. And she proposed 4 options that the CSL got behind, and we've had a really good working relationship with them ever since. And from there, she was able to present to the Executive Sustainability Committee, which is filled with faculty, staff, students, and got really great feedback. And I'd also like to point out again that this is UCLA, which is certainly a hard campus to make progress like this at, although of course this is an initiative that very few are pushing for and we think is so important. From there, she continued to facilitate conversations with other students and professors to get support for implementation, getting guidance, feedback, people who would be willing to commit their time to an effort like this. And it was a wonderful way to see people brought together. We also look to other campuses that are trying to make the same things happen. We're also making pretty good progress at Lawrence University in Wisconsin. There's going to be a requirement for all first-year students amidst their shared first-year studies, where everyone takes the exact same classes. And so by comparing and sharing and learning and growing together, we've been able to make a world of impact already. And it's a long process, but it's one that people have been sticking out. And so next up in the fall, she has been preparing this summer with the Chief Sustainability Officer, Nurit Katz, to present all of these ideas to the Academic Senate, who will then push it to the Climate Change Pilot Project Committee.